Hi and welcome to The Winning Factor. I'm Alan Aitken, and on this show each week we take a look at some upcoming races in Hong Kong and try to isolate an aspect of the race we might look back on later as having been a path to finding the winner. Well, Sunday racing at Sha Tin, and we get underway with the first of the dirt races for the season, and that's where our first winning factor comes up. It's race 1, the winning factor, the trials. Only a small field here, but a handy few good ones in it, and there will be cases made, I think, for Fiery Diamond, a 3-time track and distance winner, and Imperial McGee coming off some good Class 4 form late last season. But the main serious players here, I think, are Zac Purton's mount Self-Improvement and Francis Lloyd trained Euro Rocks. Now, trials can be a little bit overplayed in my view at times, but when there's nothing else to go on as to how horses are performing, that's where we fall back to. And as luck would have it, Euro Rocks and Self-Improvement each won a barrier trial on the dirt surface on September 9, so we have some comparison. First of all, batch 4, and this is Euro Rocks here in the purple colours. He's first out. Last season he was second to the Smart Supreme Lucky at his debut, then unable to show his best through a combination of minor injury, setback and some wide draws, but he's first out here before Diamond Flare, a Class 4 runner on Sunday, goes through to lead, and Lyle Hewitson plants Euro Rocks in second to the turn. Once they straighten, he swallows up the leader and coasts down to the line to win without any fancy margins, but with plenty in hand. So a nice cosy trial there, and certainly a horse who's going to do himself justice first up for the season. But earlier in the day we saw Self-Improvement step out in a trial, and he looked even sharper. This is batch 2, Self-Improvement, gate 5, yellow colours, and he bounds out of the gates like his stall opened early, something that hasn't always been the case with him, either in Hong Kong or in Australia. But he's straight to the front here for Zac Purton, controls the pace, and his rear end is really all that his rivals ever see of him. Though, note, unlike Hewitson on Euro Rocks, Zac's hands do just keep him going down to the line. Now, that was also only the second time that we've seen Self-Improvement in blinkers. The first time was his other trial this season, which he also won, although he did win with them in Australia. And if it was all about times alone, you'd conclude from these figures that the year change has worked the oracle, and Self-Improvement's trial was considerably better than Euro Rocks. These times certainly say it, but I would still suggest some notice needs to be taken of the different pressure the horses were placed under, especially in the run to the line. Turning to the map, well, small fields can sometimes be tricky, so we'll take a look at the small field here, and if Self-Improvement jumps the same way on Sunday as he did in that trial, he'll definitely lead. We haven't seen that from him before though, so I've mapped him more in keeping with his prior style, and he does have one or two underneath him who might look to be a nuisance early. Fiery Diamond with the 10-pound claimer aboard, and O-Liner, who has a solid on-speed profile. That puts Euro Rocks and California Sybil dropping in behind them, and Imperial McGee out the back, all hoping the leaders will overdo things. And the tip from me in race 1 is Self-Improvement. His winning factor, the trials. Certainly his was a superior trial to Euro Rocks. I'm sure that all the attention is going to be on him because he's Zac Purton's mount, but it was the trial of a horse who's up and ready to go, and that makes him the one to beat. The other race I want to take a look at on Sunday is race 8, where our winning factor is the fitness edge. Now, I don't think there are too many serious chances in this Class 4 Cup race. Pins Prince and Dream Pursuer will have their admirers at the top of the weights. I'm sure See You Again also has a chance, despite the difficult draw. But for me, the real attention grabbers are Zac Purton's mount Ka Ying Warrior, and the one runner in the field who's already had a race this season, I Give. Now, Ka Ying Warrior has been a little bit of hard work in his career so far, more on that in a moment or two. But I Give, he's already been to the races once this season, and that gives him a fitness edge. So let's take a look at what he managed last week. And this is race 5 for the season from gate 12, light colours. I Give is not the first away, but Turbo Power doesn't want to push forward. He lets Day Day Rich pass him, and then in turn Jerry Chow continues on with I Give to head them all off in a section that was faster than average. But despite the early work, I Give doesn't really come back to the field. He keeps galloping good sectionals, never looks like being beaten in the straight, and goes on to a very solid maiden victory. And that was with 130 pounds in the saddle. Now this week he has a class rise, he has a switch of jockey to the 7-pound claimer Angus Chung, and that means his weight drops from 130 down to 113 pounds, as well as having that run under the belt. And the fitness edge is not to be dismissed lightly. As you see on this graphic, Hong Kong horses who don't go and stand in a grassy field for weeks at a time, unfortunately there aren't just many grassy fields in Hong Kong. Having a break isn't what it might be in some jurisdictions, but history still shows there is an edge early in the season for those already with a race. We saw it on Wednesday night at Happy Valley when Valhalla came off a 5th behind I Give to win well, and over the years about 35 to 40% of the early winners in September, October have already raced that season. And particularly in September, when you get plenty of races where only 1 or 2 have had a run, that fitness edge can transform into a punting edge. I Give's stumbling block is Ka Ying Warrior. Now he's only had one time at the races, this horse, but he's certainly got plenty of stories, mostly sad. Now he was set to be a short price favourite at his first appearance last November when he was withdrawn on race day with a leg problem. 3 weeks later he did actually make it to the races as one of the favourites and flopped out last and stayed there, with Zach Purton reporting to the stewards that his action was a complete mess. So they took him away, prepped him again, and it was July by the time he was ready to go, but this time he was scratched again, this time with a blood abnormality. So Ka Ying Warrior's career so far has been a bit of a nothing. However, we have seen what he can do at the trials, and that's what I'm going to show you now. This is September 4 trial batch 5 and gate 3 with blue and yellow colours. He begins well, Zach positions him off the speed towards the centre of the track and he travels nicely. Then Zach's very kind to him in the final 200 metres as he rounds up his rivals very comfortably to win at the trials for the 5th time since he landed in Hong Kong over a year ago. And that might make him too good for this field if he turns up and shows his best, but so far the evidence is you've got to get him to the post first. When we look at the map, well, that certainly presents well for him, and I think it suits I Give as well. There is a worthwhile tempo set by I Give and perhaps Diamond Forever, with Zach Purton likely putting Ka Ying Warrior into a spot trailing the pace as he did in that trial. I don't expect it to be overly fast, but certainly not slow. But the tip from me in race 8 is I Give. His winning factor, the fitness edge. Now Ka Ying Warrior may just be too good for him, but as you can see, he's promised the world so far and delivered an Atlas. I Give, well, we know where he's going to be. He's going to be up the front, he's fast, he's in form, he's fit, and he has a light weight. And I think he's going to give this horse race a great shake. Well, that's it from the winning factor this week. Good luck on Sunday. We'll see you next time.